Ladies and gentlemen, we'll go ahead and begin if we're all ready to record. Are we good to go? Okay. We'll begin our meeting today. We welcome you all out to our regular weekly meeting of the Board of County Commissioners here in Weber County. Today is Tuesday, the 19th of April. We're in the midst of spring and we've had some good rain and now some sunshine, so we're going to see things start to grow. We appreciate you all being here, being a part of our meeting today. We'll begin today with an invocation offered by Pastor Dave Malinak, a good friend of ours and a great community advocate and leader in our community from the Berean Baptist Church. He will offer our invocation, after which our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Shelley Hallisey and our Thought of the Day by Commissioner Gibson. Pastor Dave.
Let's pray. Lord God of heaven, we thank and praise you for your greatness, your goodness, and for the way that you reach out to us, and the fact that you're invested in us, in our lives, that you've inserted yourself into this world, the world that you created, that fell and rebelled against you. You've reached out to redeem us, and we thank you that we can look to you for redemption and for salvation. Lord, I'm especially grateful that your name is praised in a public place like this, and that we can praise you in public still in our country. And Lord, I thank you that there are those who have the courage to do so. We want you to be praised and magnified. Lord, you are all sufficient in all things. When we look for sufficiency anywhere outside of yourself, we find ourselves frustrated and empty. Lord, we know that our problems are not solved because we look to you, but yet we find peace in our troubles because we look to you. And we thank you that we know that you work all things together for good to those who love you. Now we lift up the business of this meeting and ask that you would bless it. This is the foundation of government right here. And Lord, we see our country and the direction that it's headed, and we are all very concerned. We know that these things are in your hand, and yet, Lord, we can't help but ask that you would intervene in our country, that you would turn our hearts back to you and back to right, back to our foundations. But Lord, it's easy to look outside of here and shake our fists at the boogeyman in Washington. But really, if our country is going to turn back, it has to be right here in this place. It has to be where we are, in our homes, in our local government. And I pray that the things that are done here, the way business is conducted, would be in a way that honors you as Lord and God. I pray that you'd give our commissioners wisdom. Those who advise them would advise them rightly. I pray that decisions would be made that honor and please you, and we ask that all of these things would be done for Christ's sake. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise. Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you so much, Pastor, for that beautiful prayer. That means an awful lot to me as we begin the business that we have today, and the things that you have said will be a topic of thought and conversation in my family throughout the week. Thank you so much for thinking of us and how we might better serve. And appreciate your participation in our community through many areas. We see you all over the place, working hard to promote and talk about good things, and we appreciate that. As far as the thought of the day today, I hope that you'll allow me just a brief indulgence. Yesterday was a sweet day for me and a difficult one at the same time. We dropped off daughter number 2 at the airport and put her on a airplane to go a long, long ways away to serve a mission in Spain. She will be landing any moment now. It's been an almost 24-hour flight between layovers, and as you can imagine, that has caused a flood of positive and a few heart-wrenching emotions for a dad and mom. And we are so excited for her opportunity to serve, and yet by the same token are daunted just a little bit by the feeling that we won't be with her for about 18 months. And so I was looking through some things last night as I was laying in bed, looking for an opportunity to comfort myself just a little bit about the fact that I missed my little girl already, and it's only been a few hours. And I came across a story by one of my religious leaders, a guy by the name of Gordon B. Hinckley, and I also found a quote by him this morning. But he told the story a while ago about him when he served a mission many years ago in England, and he remembers writing home to his father and saying to his father something to the effect of, this is kind of miserable. No one's listening to me, and I feel like I'm spinning my wheels. I feel like I'm wasting my time and your money. And a wise father, probably about 3 months later, when the mail finally got back and forth, simply wrote a one-line response, and it said something to the effect of, "Gordon, forget yourself and go to work." And I thought that was good advice, and that was advice that I left with my daughter yesterday. And this is the statement that I found, an official quote from him this morning that says this: "The best antidote that I know for worry is work. The best cure for weariness is the challenge of helping someone who is even more tired. One of the greatest ironies of this life is, he or she that serves almost always benefits more than he or she that is served." So as I look across this audience today, I see many of you who spend an awful lot of your time serving others. And I appreciate that. And sometimes it's work, but the reality is most of the time when we get lost in serving others, I think we find that it's a relief to us, and it doesn't turn out to feel like work quite so much. It's when we really start to enjoy our jobs and enjoy the things that we do because we've got someone else in mind. And I see the employees that are here today, and I know that you all do that. I feel guilty at times when I call you at 10 o'clock at night or 5 o'clock in the morning. But the reality is I know that you are in it for the right reasons to serve others, and I just appreciate all of you for doing that. So I'm lecturing to the choir here because you already know this, but it's just a good reminder for me, and one that I think is going to help me pass the 18 months a little bit quicker, and hopefully it'll help her as well. So quite a blessing in our lives, and we're already looking forward to a sweet reunion. All right, we'll move on to our next item on our agenda today, which is our presentation, and we're excited to have Paulette Mercier with us today from the Ogden Weber Applied Technology College. She is doing an outstanding job over there. We've had the opportunity to work very closely with her over the years and work with some of her initiatives, and we were, by the way, very excited to hear that the legislature funded their building request over at the Business Depot Ogden, and we may have her report on that just a little bit, but that's a tremendous asset. It's going to be a tremendous asset to our economic development and job creation and in composites and other important areas. So we'll have her report on that, but this is a presentation of this proclamation declaring the week of April 18th through the 22nd as the Ogden Weber Applied Technology College Week. So from time to time we do these resolutions, and with the hope of bringing positive attention to some of the good things that are happening in our community that sometimes don't get talked about and don't get communicated as often as they should and as well as they should. This is definitely one of those that is worthy of that effort. So, Colette, if you'll come up a little closer to the microphone, and I'm going to read this proclamation, and then I'm going to ask you to elaborate on it and anything that you think that the public or that we should know about this, and then we'll talk a little bit about your building and go from there, okay? We have to read this in the official government terms, the way that it's all with all the whereases, okay? Whereas the Ogden Weber Applied Technology College is celebrating 45 years of commitment to quality and fulfilling the technical education and employment needs of Weber County students and local employers. Whereas the college was initially established as the Utah Skills Center on April 23rd, 1971, had an enrollment of 93 students, and the institution's name was changed to the Ogden Weber Applied Technology College on September 1st of 2001. The college now serves over 6,000 individuals per year, and the governor, the legislature, and the community and business leaders recognize the need for individuals to develop technical skills to enhance their marketability. And the college's mission is to build a prosperous community by creating a technically skilled workforce, one student at a time. The college remains committed to helping students achieve success through program completion, job placement, and upgrade training. And the college promotes excellence by recruiting and retaining a diverse group of students, faculty, staff, providing the necessary resources for their development and advancement, and creating a climate of respect that supports their success. And the college envisions a future where Weber County residents know what the institution does, and would recommend the college for their own families. Businesses, community, and government leaders promote the Tech College as being an important traditional higher education tool. High school teachers, counselors, and administrators recommend the Tech College for every student. Completion of a technical certificate is a minimum expectation for post-secondary education, and the best talent views the Tech College as the premier place to work, and the college firmly believes that experience is everything. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Weber County Commissioners proclaims the week of April 18th through the 22nd of 2016 as Ogden Weber Applied Technology College Week. Signed by the Commissioners.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. Well, thank you so very much for taking the time to do that today and for recognizing the Tech College for its many years of service. I think your thought today is really on par and is perfect for what we do at the Tech College, because our whole purpose is to serve Weber County employers, to serve Weber County residents, and provide great opportunities through the technical education that we provide. And we love doing that in partnership. You know, no one does anything alone. And that's one of the areas that we have found has just been so beneficial with Weber County in terms of being able to work with the commissioners themselves, being able to work with our employers, working with the cities and the mayors. The collectiveness that we work with together in Weber County, I think, has really made a difference in why Weber County in northern Utah is such a strong area throughout the state of Utah. It's because we work together in service to our community and to our employers and our residents. So it is just such a pleasure to be here, to be celebrating 45 years. I can't believe where it's gone. I've been there for a lot of those 45 years. Have seen a lot of changes, but we're so excited for what the future will continue to bring as the institution receives greater recognition and people really understand how important the technical focus that we have really plays in our economy. You mentioned our new building that will be coming online in about a year. We have a facility out at Business Depot Ogden. We have 2 bays, about 90,000 square feet totally, and 1 bay has been completed and is primarily for our custom fit program and for our automotive program. But Bay 2 is still this old original 1940s warehouse when that was the old Defense Depot Ogden. So we did receive the funding, and we certainly want to thank specifically all of the commissioners, but Carrie Gibson, Commissioner Gibson in particular, for helping us get the funding. We believe that the support of our commissioners, our city, our employers is why we were funded. And so we can't thank you enough for your support in getting this building completed. So now with this facility, we'll be able to expand our composites program, our non-destructive inspection program, our OSHA certification program, in order to continue to meet the growing needs of our aerospace and defense industries in northern Utah. And that's very critical for all of us, because as we all prosper, everyone prospers, as our companies prosper in particular. So thank you so much for recognizing us. We love being a part of this community. It's our home. We feel very, very strongly about working together and serving our community. We are having a birthday party on Friday from 11 to 1. We hope that you'll come out if you have time and just have lunch with us. We're just going to have a big barbecue outside for staff, for individuals who want to come, and we'd love to invite the community. Anyone here in the audience? You are welcome to come and join us as well for lunch, just to celebrate. We don't have any
You
big,
just invited 9 people that are watching us.
hey, that's good. We're willing to do that as well. So come out from 11 to 1 and just have lunch with us. And if you have time, you can tour the campus and see what we're doing. And we're just having a party. That's what you do when you have an anniversary party or a birthday party, whatever you want to call it. You celebrate all the good things we have done, and celebrate all the plans that we have going forward to continue to serve our community. So thank you so much for your graciousness and your involvement with the Tech College, and continuing to include us as we move forward in helping to continue to grow our community. Thank you very much.
It's not like me to miss a birthday party. Commissioner Ebert, did you want to say anything, add anything?
I'm just so pleased to see anchors within our community continue to have vision. I look at the ATC as an anchor, and to see the very progressive approach to how we create workforce, but also how we build our community. And one of the things Commissioner Gibson talks about all the time is how do we retain our children within our communities instead of losing them. So I want to say thank you and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
So I don't consider you to be an anchor to us at all. I consider that you guys
I'm a
are
positive
phenomenal. And I think it is so positive what you're doing out there, because all kids, everybody doing their what they want to do. College doesn't fit for everyone, and this is a great place to get started and get going. So appreciate what you're doing out there. It's been a great thing.
Thank you very much.
You used a word that we've been talking about a lot in our commission in the last year, since we really sat down and tried to focus on what our goals would be, and that was the word prosperity. Our community that's really what we want for our entire community, and that's defined obviously in some interesting and slightly different ways for each individual, but one of the things for sure is that we all have the ability and the skills to provide for our families, and frankly, as someone, I can't remember which one just mentioned keeping our kids here, like my daughter, I want her to come back and stay here and not have to move away to be able to provide for her family. And I just I look at our higher education system as a community, and we are doing much better all the time, but we are just not gonna hit the mark without strengthening this technology sector in the way that we just have to do a lot better. And so we offer our support to get behind and push all the way forward as fast and as hard as we can, and help make some progress here. And under your leadership, frankly, in the last about 10 years, this college has made tremendous strides. And so we owe you a debt of gratitude for every one of our constituents for the work that you're doing. And I hope you'll pass that on to your staff as well. We're very proud to work with you, and grateful for the progress that has been made.
Thank you. Greatly appreciate that. And you talk about the work you're doing, but as you mentioned, when you're doing something you love, it's not really work, is it?
That's
Thank
true.
you very
Good
much.
point. Would you take a picture with us as
I
we
would
present
love to.
this proclamation? Okay.
Right on down here.
Okay, thank you.
Let's give her a hand.
Thank you all very much. And I hope to see you come out. Come and have lunch with us Friday, 11 to 1. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that's the good stuff. Now we have to get to the harder stuff, huh? Sometimes. All right, we'll go to our consent items. The first item on the consent calendar is a request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $131,199.01. Request for approval of warrants number 403812 through 404042 in the amount of $1,438,135.66. Request for approval of minutes for the meetings held on March 22nd, 2016 and April 12th of 2016. Request for approval of reconciliation change order on the 3500 West project, phase number 1. Request from the Tax Review Committee for approval of an extension to become current on tax payment for parcel number 14-038-0012. Request from the Tax Review Committee for approval of settlement of taxes for the amount of an already paid invoice on parcel number 13-022-0006. And finally, request from the Sheriff's Office for approval of a surplus of a 1994 TJ trailer, with the funds from that surplus being returned to Search and Rescue for the purchase of a new trailer. Okay, Mr. Hatch, any details that you would like to have pointed out to
You
us
bet.
today?
We had 20 purchase orders this week for $131,000. 40% of that amount, or $53,000, was for the Sheriff's Office for facial recognition software. 16% went to the transfer station. That's $21,000. That was for baling wire and temporary services. Another $21,000 or 16% is for the garage for tires and truck tires or truck parts. And then 15% or $20,000 was for Homeland Security for what was called ERK kits. And I checked into that. This is a cool thing made in Clearfield. It's the only place you can get them. And when a tanker that contains chemicals tips over, this seals, it's a seal that can go right on the top, the ventilation port of the top of the tanker, and it seals it from preventing further leakage. They're expensive, but certainly critical when you have a train that tips over. So I learned a little bit about chemical spills on trains, which was really interesting. Our check run this week, we had 231 checks for $1.4 million. 28% of that, or $400,000, was for the landfill for disposal costs. 15%, or $220,000, was our ramp program. We awarded a lot of cities their city grants this week. 13%, or $189,000, was construction for the West Haven 4700 West Road project. 11%, or $156,000, was for the jail, and that was for a dish machine, inmate meals, and medical supplies. 9%, or $128,000, was corridor preservation funds, and that was went towards the 12th Street project.
We remind, since we do have some people in the audience who aren't here every week, that the commissioners receive these items all several days ahead of time and have the opportunity to review them. So we are prepared to take action on these consent items, but we have our clerk auditor give us a rundown, mainly for the public, if they have any questions or comments, in an effort to make sure that they are open and accessible. And of course, these are all available online as well. So we appreciate that rundown. And there's just one thing I thought was important to note in that, and that is, the Sheriff's Office continues to request Ford trucks, and now we have the baling wire to keep all those Ford trucks running. I noticed we purchased some baling wire. Is that right, Mr. Hatch? Is that what that was for?
Commissioner, that was better than picking up parts from the
Well, we purchased some Priuses to help tow those Fords back to the show.
I just want to know about this facial recognition stuff. It's going to be pretty cool. They use it in the jail, or where are you using that at?
Well, this is a pilot program for that technology, Matt, and but there's some applications for it, frankly, through the county attorney's office and out of corrections, some other places where that can be a real assistance to us yet.
Cool.
It's dual authentication.
We need to make sure that you're you, so that's good to have it.
There's only one Sheriff Thompson, trust me.
That's a good point.
All right,
I'll make a motion, we accept the consent items as read before this conversation goes too far south.
Second.
okay, motion and second then that we adopt the consent items. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. Okay, to our action items. We have a couple of action items. I'm going to run through these, but before we get to item number 4,
Let's just move item number 4 to the last, and then we'll do the public comment before. Let's
Okay.
just go out, because the rest of the stuff looks like it's going
okay,
to go
we'll do
pretty
that.
quick.
That sounds good. We'll move item number 4 to the end, and we'll run through these others real quick, and then we want to move public comment ahead of item number 4, because I think that might be why a few of you are here. We'll see if it is. Okay, so item
They've
number...
got suntans, I think it is.
Item number 1, request for approval of resolution of the Board of Commissioners appointing a member to the Taylor West Weaver Cemetery Board. Brooke Stewart, thanks for bringing this to us today.
Thanks. I appreciate being first on the agenda.
Welcome.
Like you said, I am bringing before you one vacancy on the West Weber Taylor Cemetery District Board of Trustees. This vacancy was, we were notified of the vacancy and it was posted and published in accordance to the state statute. We received one application that was from the current member whose term is expired, Larry Blanche. This is a 4-year term and it would run through immediately to December 31st, 2019.
Okay. Any questions,
make
Commissioners?
them.
That's a pretty simple one.
I'll make a motion, we put Larry Branch on the
Blanche, sorry.
Blanche on the West Weaver Taylor Cemetery Board.
Resolution 9.
Second, resolution 9.
Resolution 9.
Okay, the motion is to approve resolution number 9, appointing Larry Blanche to the Taylor West Weaver Cemetery Board. Discussion to the motion. Seeing none, roll call.
Commissioner Ebert,
Aye.
Commissioner Bell,
Aye.
Chair Gibson.
Aye, it passes. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Brooke. Item number 2, request for approval of a RE agreement with the UPRR, Union Pacific Railroad, for the 12th Street project. Jared?
Good morning, Commissioners. This is for the crossing that's just there. It's way out west by AFC Tanks. We haven't started roadway construction or utility construction out there, but the process with Union Pacific takes time. So this is just a preliminary agreement with them that they can start the preliminary design on that crossing and what we need to do there.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agreement between Union Pacific Railroad and 12th Street project.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second on this particular item. Looks like it's critical for what we're doing out there. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Thank you, Jared. We'll keep you up here for the next one, which is a request for approval of cooperation agreement by and between Weber County and Taylor West Weber Water for the 12th Street project. And I have a side note here that says that this needs to be approved as a resolution. Is that true, Chris? Yes. Okay, as a resolution, so that would be resolution number 10.
So,
Okay, Jared?
go ahead.
This is a agreement with Taylor West Weaver Water. With all the utility companies we work with on these roadway projects, as we get to an understanding on everything, on who's doing what and how all the monies are working and who, what everybody needs to do in it, then once we include that all in an agreement, then we can get that approved and make sure we're good on both ends. So that's what this is for.
So what's it gonna cost the county?
What's it going to cost the county?
Because in here, it says that we're gonna approve it, we're gonna put a check out there, and the county's gonna work between us and them, we're gonna split some stuff. How much is it gonna cost the taxpayers in Weaver?
What we've done with all the utility companies, public-private utility companies, so it's a little bit different with Rocky Mountain Power and Questar. But with the other utility companies, as we come in, we tell them when we do construction, we're going to take the roadway down to the utility regardless. We're
Right.
also going to build that roadway back up. So I could say it's not really going to cost the taxpayers any money. We're
Okay.
doing that work anyway. We then tell the utility company, you have the ability to upsize or upgrade this utility if you would like. Some of them have actually left their utilities, and so we say, okay, we'll protect it in place and move on.
Okay.
But a lot of them have come in and said, well, actually, we want to upgrade our system. We need to do this and that to our different systems. Now, the only different caveat on that is if the project warrants that utility to be moved, then the project will pay for that. Meaning, if there's a random water line on the shoulder, and as our new roadway comes out to it, there's not enough cover on the water line, then the project will pay for that.
So I'm just thinking of the road we're putting on Skyline. And
Yes.
as we're moving some utilities, we're doing some of it, the county's doing some of it's the district doing if they're changing specifications and that.
Correct.
So my question again is, so if they want to upsize pipe and that, we don't do anything with that. But we're going to dig a trench, we're going to have a trench down the road, and if they want to upsize, do different, whatever, they can do whatever they want in that trench. And
Correct.
the county's not gonna, okay.
Correct. And it benefits both of us. Benefits us
Sure.
because it's a new utility, benefits them because they don't have to pay to take it down to the utility and back up.
Plus, we don't want them to dig up our brand new road. Government loves digging up brand new roads. For some reason, the minute a brand new road gets put in, next week, somebody's digging it up.
That's right.
And so we want to make sure everything's done underneath. So do all the utilities, not in just this project, but all the utilities know they need to get their gas lines, whatever they want, they need to get in these roads and underneath them, because we're not going to let them go tear them up next week.
With every project, we met up to a year in advance with each of the utilities.
Okay. All right.
This is one of those that the utilities are all very old, and so a lot of them are taking advantage of the opportunity to
Right.
to upgrade them, which they need to be.
Yep.
All right, can we have a motion on the resolution?
I'll make a motion that we approve the cooperative agreement between Weber County and Taylor West Weber Water for the 12th Street project.
I second it.
Okay, motion and second then on resolution number 10, discussion. Seeing none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Hebert?
Aye.
Commissioner Bell?
Aye.
Chair Gibson?
Aye, the motion passes. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
Looks like you're off the hook for the rest of the day. Okay, Brian, the next is the request for approval of the ordinance.
No,
Oh, let's see,
we're
we're
gonna skip
skipping that
5.
one. Number 5, Jennifer. Request for approval of an agreement by and between Weber County and Broken Heart Rodeo Company to produce the rodeo for the 2016 Weber County Fair. Good to see you. That's coming up already, isn't it?
Good morning. I know it's going to be here before we know it. So this is kind of our standard contract with our rodeo promoter, Ben Gurman with Broken Heart Rodeo Company. He's also the promoter that works with us with the Intermountain Icebreaker Rodeo and several other events out of the event center. This is pretty standard. There was a slight increase over last year from $12 a run for the timed event to $14. But with the price of cattle, that is what it is. So just looking for approval of this.
I'll make a motion to accept the contract for Broken Heart Rodeo in Weber County.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. Discussion of the motion. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
We've worked with these guys in the past, and I'm sure they'll do another great job for us. All right, and 6, item number 6, request for approval of a Weber Morgan Strike Force petition to the Weber County Commission pursuant to code Utah Code annotated 24-3-103 for the appropriation to the Strike Force of $3,928.05, currently held in the Strike Force seizure account. Chris, you got this one for us?
I do. Thank you, Commissioners. This is a petition from the Weber Morgan Narcotics Strike Force to release $3,928.05 that's currently held in trust by the Strike Force seizure account. Every week, Strike Force participates in drug-related arrests and the execution of warrants. And during those, it is often found that they will find currency or other property that's related to the narcotics transaction. Most often it is the proceeds of drug-related activities. The Utah Forfeiture and Disposition of Property Act allows the Strike Force to seize that, file a request with the county attorney's office to petition that those funds be forfeited to the state of Utah. We go through a number of due process protections, notify any claimants, innocent owners, and we do that through the court. However, there's often times where we can't follow that normal procedure because there is no identified claimant to those funds. Either every person has disavowed any interest in it, and so the statute comes up with a process for us to be able to release that evidence, and that is if we cannot identify an owner to notice, the seizing agency may apply those funds to a public use, but prior to that, they have to request permission from the county legislative body to do that. The specific request here is to use these funds for the deposit on the future purchase of a canine. This particular canine, it's really actually quite fascinating what this dog can do. It has the ability to sniff out and detect electronic devices. I mean, SIM cards as small as a thumbnail. These dogs can go through after a search and find any remaining devices. It's easy to see how this would aid greatly in the prosecution and against people who commit child pornography crimes. But there's number of other crimes that a dog like this could assist in. These are the specifics I have. I know that Sheriff Thompson can also answer any questions about this particular dog if you have them.
Okay. Any questions for Chris? Sheriff Thompson, anything you need to add? Is that a pretty good explanation?
I think Chris did a pretty good job of laying it out. If you have any specific questions, we'll be happy to.
So how many canines do you have now, Sheriff?
We have 2 now. They're detention canines, drug detection canines. This one, as Chris said, is a little bit different. It has the ability to identify and recognize electronic devices, which is a newer portion of that canine recognition that we haven't really had typically in the past, but it's proven to be very effective. And these particular canines are in pretty high demand right now. And so our ICAC detective, Cameron Hartman, has been working with the trainer out of Indianapolis on securing this particular canine, and so we're looking to put a little bit of cash down towards securing that canine, so that we can continue this process of having it available to us. ICAC, as you know, is a huge piece of the puzzle here, and we actually work many of those cases regionally, not only in our area, just Weber County, but regionally. We work with the state ICAC team and also with the FBI, and the FBI is actually forming recently a new task force specifically for that purpose, and so this can be a valuable part of that for us.
So can it do more than just that, or will it be a single purpose dog?
This particular dog's primary purpose is specifically the detection of electronic components.
So if you go into a house or whatever, your suspect, wherever you go, you'll search to see if something's hidden somewhere. That's what you can do, or wherever it may be.
Yes, and the thing that's a little bit unique to this dog is that typically with our other canines, you have to have scenes that are really uncluttered and we haven't been into yet. Then the canine kind of leads the way and does that initial search through it. This canine is a bit different in that it's search specific is after we've gone in and we've done our search, as to the best of our ability as, humans, and then this canine comes in afterwards and is capable of locating many devices that we haven't found. And we know that we miss many of those secreted in homes and apartments and places where you just can't possibly search everywhere. And they do a phenomenal job of finding those in hidden places, hidden compartments, hidden areas where typically these kind of folks want these things not found.
So will we be the first one in Utah to have one of these? Or?
To the best of my knowledge, yes. There are a few around the country, not a lot yet, but to my knowledge, this will be the first in Utah, yes.
Cool. That's a good thing.
Yeah, like I say, Detective Hartman has attended some training and some demos and working with in the Seattle area and working with the trainer out of Indianapolis, and it's just phenomenal. This is something that most of us here, it's kind of new to us. It was to me, months ago when this first came to us, but the results on this have just been fascinating. So we believe that it can really put a dent in some of our most egregious of crimes, dealing with the sexual abuse and exploitation of our children.
Great. Well,
I'll
sounds
make-
like a good investment.
I'll make a motion we accept and approve Weaver Morgan Strike Force to gather up $3,928.05 and to release it.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second then to approve this item to release $3,928.05 to the strike force. Discussion to that motion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Shoot that.
Okay, we've got this item of the overnight watercraft use and the public comment to that. Are there any in the audience who are here specifically to give public comment on this issue? Okay, 2, 3, okay. Let's have public comment next, and we'll have you come up and state your name for the record and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less, and then we'll have the presentation from our presenters on this, Brian and the rest of the group, and we'll go from there. So come on up, the three of you, the three of you come take some seats up here on the.
Describe quickly, just so everybody knows what we're presenting about.
Well, this public comment, you can say anything you want to say, and then we'll take the item afterwards. If you don't want to talk about, you can talk about any item you want to talk about. I just assumed.
Comments to a specific thing, but I need to make sure that I'm doing that.
The problem is that we don't, because it's a public meeting and not a public hearing, we don't have the public comment during the particular agenda item. We usually have the public comment at the end, but sometimes that gets perceived that we don't care what you have to say before we vote. So that's why we moved it around, so that you can say anything you want to say during the public comment period about any item, and then we will address the issue when it comes before us. So the item that's before us now is public comment. It's totally up to you what you say when you get in front of this microphone. You got 3 minutes. Hope that was clear as mud.
My name's Lou Beck. I live in Eden on Stringtown Road. Your in-laws live across the street from us.
Good to meet
I've
you, Lou.
spoken to you before. The reason I'm talking to you now, I don't know specifically what the proposal by what I believe is the Sheriff's Department, but I can give you some background from our point of view about what I think the problem is. What I'm talking about specifically is noise on the lake. There's a noise ordinance on that lake, but it's not enforced. As you said earlier, and as the pastor said earlier, we're in a situation where people don't seem to understand what's right and wrong anymore. We are having to enforce things that we shouldn't have to enforce, and that's what this issue is here. The noise in the summertime is out of hand on the lake, and it really isn't that very many people. You see how many boats are on that lake. They're not all noisy, but a lot of them are noisy. They raft up in one location. We all call it Cocaine Cove. I think law enforcement knows where that is, but in case you don't, it's called Spring Cove. Most of the people behind me here live near that lagoon, and we hear that noise all summer long. As the water is higher, that sound is not dissipated by the banks. It travels across the valley. There was a recent letter by the mayor of Huntsville, who can't be here in town because he is working. And I'm hoping that you guys lend an ear to some of the few people that represent all the people that are up there that hear this noise. We can call the Sheriff's Department, but the Sheriff's Department can't do anything. The Sheriff's Department owns a boat, but the boat's not out there. I believe it's because there are not enough resources for that problem, that there are bigger fish to fry. But that still means there's a problem, and it's getting worse all the time because nobody enforces it. And what happens is people like me stop calling the Sheriff's Department because they can't do anything. So the Sheriff's Department's credibility is low, you guys' credibility is low, and we as citizens feel like we are forced to deal with this on our own. And I will tell you personally, if I thought there was a way I could do it that was within the law, I'd have already done it. Every solution I come up with is against the law, so I don't do it. But it's,
Thank you.
The frustration level is that high, boys, and it's been that way for years. Of all the people you see back there, I'm the one that's lived there the least amount of time, and that's 27 years. And it's been frustrating for a long time. Something needs to be done. Now, my point here is that that's a big lake and the public owns it. I don't really think this is the right solution. Too many people are good people and don't need to be spanked. It's the bad people that are causing the problem. So really, I think what we need is the sheriffs need to be given the opportunity to enforce the laws. It's a credibility issue. It's like spanking a little kid. You spank him a few times, suddenly you have credibility. If the sheriff's department or whoever the law enforcement body has the authority to take care of this for a short period of time, then the people that are making all the noise are going to get the message that, oh, now they're serious. But what I see here is we're left to a situation where now we're talking about closing the lake. And frankly, personally, I would love to see that. Do I think it's the right solution? No. I think it's a failure of enforcement. So if you guys can cut loose some dollars and let these guys do their job, the problem goes away. Or you can move the noise to a different part of the lake that has less homes, which is by the dam. They can make all the noise they want, but I guarantee you're going to hear people from other parts of the lake. So I don't think that's a good solution. And now we're here to talk about closing the lake for people who might be peaceful. I think a solution needs to be come up with. I don't know that this is the right one, but lacking anything else, i.e. dollars to the enforcement folks, I think this is a good solution. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I have two more that wanted to comment. You'll come up, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to speak or to address this issue. My name's Robert Fuller, and I live in Eden at 1175 North, which is just directly west of what used to be called Arrowhead Bay when I was a kid, that now, as Lou pointed out, is Cocaine Cove. And so I'm not sure, I understand there's this pending ordinance where you consider the possibility of closing the lake at a certain time of night or something to that effect, but unless you understood the gravity of what goes on up there, there's been a unique, it's popular now for a lot of boats, and it's not an exaggeration, and I think it would shock you'd be shocked to see what goes on down there. The sheriff is probably as sick of taking my calls as I am of making them. And those boats line up. Now you have relatively high-tech equipment and boats, and so in the evening, all day long, actually last Sunday it started again, until 2 or 3 in the morning, you have severe noise that rattles the light fixtures on our ceiling of our house, okay? And so some of the sheriffs who've been good enough and some of the deputies that came down will come down, and a lot of them don't even know that area is there. And so when I say, why don't you go get a ticket? You can read the number on that boat. There's a particular boat out there that has a big flag that says irate on it. And it's not hard to identify who's causing the problems there, but it's my understanding from talking to the sheriff's department that it is just such a volatile situation with the darkness and the alcohol and the water that if they were to confront people down there, it would turn into a physical altercation, and it's just too dangerous to enforce your police powers. And if it is too dangerous to do that, which I find hard to believe, but I'm not the one getting punched trying to enter somebody's boat down there to give them a ticket, if it's truly that dangerous, then you should consider the possibility of either closing that cove. But even closing that cove, I've noticed there's other places it just migrates to another place on the lake. So if you want to have a designated noise area, the problem is nobody probably wants that next to them. And that lake, the valley and the lake has a way of echoing through there. If I read this ordinance, if I'm reading the current ordinance, talking about noise, it says, this is 2634, which may be old or new. It says, no activity or noise that causes unreasonable distraction to other users of the reservoir and campground facilities is allowed on the reservoir and in the surrounding campgrounds and shorelines from 10 p.m. till 6 p.m. each day. And that's your ordinance 2634, or at least what it used to be. And the point is, I think you need more protection to the people who are up there. There's just 2 or 3 boats that are extremely noisy, very loud, and they roar up and down that lake all day long, and just rattle your teeth. So I would say it's unfortunate that you'd have to close the lake to a family that wants to go up there and stay overnight. It's an overly broad ordinance to punish everybody. It's like a speed bump where everybody has to suffer going over that speed bump just to slow the people down who are speeding. But I think an alternative for everybody to share the use up there, I think that particular cove should be a non-motorized area. It's popular now to float around or paddle around, and that is kind of a unique wildlife habitat, the way the water comes into there and it's quiet. So I would think you would consider also the possibility of closing some of these critical areas where there's wildlife habitat, but because if it's true you can't police it and control the noise, then I appreciate, I understand it's the sheriff's department that kind of facilitated bringing this, and I would support that and would appreciate it if you could control the noise up there for that unique recreational spot. So thank you, commissioners, appreciate that.
Appreciate you. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Elaine White, and I live in Huntsville town, and I live on the peninsula, just right inside the town. And I wasn't planning on commenting, but hearing the previous comments, I think that if you start to close off certain parts of the lake, they'll just move to the other parts. And I happen to be on the peninsula where occasionally the boats do tie up, just like they do in Cocaine Cove, and they play loud music, and it goes late into the night, and then you find in the morning that there's a lot of beer bottles and trash to clean up and so forth. So I'm actually in favor of closing it. I can understand the challenges faced by law enforcement to trying to approach, 6 boats tied together with inebriated people, and, you may have 1 or 2 officers, and how that might be a real uncomfortable situation. And so I am actually in favor of it, and I would just like that on the record. So thank you.
Thank you. Looks like we have one more that would like to comment. Good morning, sir. Picture's worth 1,000 words, isn't it, Bill?
Yeah, Bill Wangersgaard here, and I live in Huntsville too. Kind of on the north side, you can see across the road that goes over to Eden, and it during the day it's noisy and there's loud, but it's at night that's really, and so I like what you're going to do. I think to control it from 10 till 6, like Elaine said, that's. I think that's the easy. There's lots of problems. It's not going to be an easy thing to do, but I think that's the best. So I compliment you, and we support you on that.
All right,
very
thank you.
much. Okay.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Good morning, Mr. Waldrop.
Good morning, Commissioners. Steve Waldrop, 2844 North, 4975 East in Eden. I don't live near the lake, but I have a lot of friends that do. And so when I heard about this proposed ordinance, I reached out to a number of friends and just said, what do you guys think? Let me read you a list of names just from about 10 p.m. last night until 9 a.m. this morning. Dan and Lisa Mortensen, Connie Petticord, Shane and Laura Martin, Casey and Haley Batchison, Karen and Mike Dunn, Doug and Kay Triplett, Eric and Shelley Sontag, BJ and Summer Hogue, JD and Elisa Dunn, Mike and Kara Dunn, Mike and Julie Rhodes, Penn and Julie Hollist. They are all in favor of a solution. Sometimes in government there's a solution searching for a problem. Certainly I think we're all aware that this is a problem in need of a solution. I'm not smart enough to know what that solution is. I would defer to law enforcement. Obviously we don't want to put those guys in harm's way to solve a problem that has a simpler solution. I hate the thought of over-regulating, but I don't know how else you do that. If you close one cove, you're just playing whack-a-mole. They move to a different one and a different one and a different one in each area of the lake. So I don't know another solution that resolves this issue. When I moved up there 20 years ago, my wife's family told me it was called Martini Cove. So apparently, the more genteel times have passed and we've gone from martinis to cocaine. But again, I would voice my support for this ordinance absent some other brilliant solution by law enforcement as to how to resolve this issue. It's a major issue on the lake. I have a lot of friends and it keeps them awake at night, and they have kids that can't sleep and hear things that kids should not hear in the quiet of the night when there's no alternative to doing anything else. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. All right, we're going to move to our item then. Item number 4, request for approval of an ordinance, Weber County amending the overnight watercraft use ordinance for Pine View Reservoir. And we've got Mr. Brian Barron, our attorney, who will present this. And Brian, I just want to tell you quickly, and we wanted to hear from all the public. We have seen the ordinance, and we will probably have some things to say, but we do have a dear friend who has has had a close relative pass that we want to try and get to his graveside service here in a few minutes. So keep it as succinct as you can, and let's try and get through this fairly.
Should we just, since we've had the public hearing, should we just move it to next week? Because we're never going to get through this.
We can work through this.
Okay. Well,
Quick
it's going to take.
presentation. If we have a specific issue, then we can rectify that
All the
issue.
commissioners have seen this for quite a while. It's been coming about a year, so we can.
So I don't think we need to get up here and explain our complete knowledge of this. We've spent a tremendous amount of time talking about it. If we can get you to present it, and if we have a quick issue from the from the sheriff's office, we can bring that up, and then we can move this forward. We don't need to bloviate about how much we know about the proposed ordinance.
Sure. Commissioners, this is just the first reading for this ordinance, and as has been discussed, the ordinance is to prohibit watercraft on the reservoir between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. And as I understand it, noise is a big part of the problem, but there are other problems as well. People dumping their toilets at night, people leaving trash, having campfires on the beach, racing in the middle of the night. And the sheriff's deputies just can't enforce the ordinances that we've had, so they've requested that we close the reservoir down during those hours. If you have specific questions, Lieutenant Toll is here from the sheriff's office, and he can answer them. We can also bump it to next week and address those concerns.
So you're telling me this is our first reading? Now, I was told by the attorney's office we weren't having two readings. We just did not need to have two. So am I correct hearing?
If it's an ordinance, we have to have two readings.
Right. And so we would need to bump this until next week for the second reading.
Because we're going to have a second reading anyway.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just going to say the particular statute, 2-8-5 says the board may enact the ordinance at the first reading if it deems immediate enactment necessary, or it may set the ordinance over for a second reading and or a public hearing.
Well, would this mean the legal standard of immediate enactment? I mean,
that we need to do it soon, get this to a resolution, but.
Well, here's my opinion, folks. I think that I think a lot of the things that have been said show a much bigger problem here. We know that. We were made aware of those over the last several years. We know it's getting worse and worse. We've got to do a much broader look at this whole situation. We know that this isn't a silver bullet, but we think this is a good step and a good tool in the direction that we need to go. And so I hope that no one thinks that we're going to pass this week and next week and be done. We recognize that there are a lot of problems that need to be solved, and we're going to work on those. But I think this gets us a step in the right direction. So I would recommend that we pass this on first reading and go forward to next week, and then continue to work on the larger issues.
So will you look at, can we charge every boat that goes on the water, pass a county ordinance, and get so much fee per boat to help pay for more enforcement up on the dam? The next question is, we already have the noise ordinance in place, and it's probably more than just that. My last concern is that we talk about people sleeping in their boats, like in Anderson Cove or in the boat docks where boats are tied down. Now, they're not actual slips on Anderson Cove, but there's a lot of people that sleep in their boats. So I'm a little concerned about that, and I don't know, I haven't had a chance to talk to Brandon specifically, just for a second about that. So those will be my concerns next week when we revisit this.
Well, let's have, clearly, for sure, I think we ought to have an amendment prepared to this that would at least allow for some discussion as to whether or not people could be on their boats in a paid slip, because that may be a different situation than what we're talking about here. Does that make sense to our law enforcement folks?
Correct, yes.
Okay. All right, then we can discuss that as well.
And it's a sheriff's office, not a department. Just so people know.
All right.
Thank you.
Anybody like to take action on first reading?
I would just really quickly, I just want to make sure everyone knows that this is an overall plan. Commissioner Bell's been working on a parking, how to better affect parking in that area, which would actually drive usage. And then we can look at the lake on where the best places are to drive specific use on the lake. We're not going to close a cove just to stop the noise. We'd close a cove with a purpose. We'd use the overnight for the noise issues. So I will make a motion that we approve the first reading of the ordinance of Weber County amending the overnight watercraft use ordinance for Pine View Reservoir.
I second it.
Motion and a second, where it's a first reading. I think we can do this without a roll call. Right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously. And a final motion, just after I tell you that I just got my email and my daughter's in Spain safely. She landed. We're good. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
And a second.